Having some tech issues. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce our organization right now, and then when we have our speaker join, we will get started with the interview. So the Democratic Youth Coalition, or DYC, is a grassroots student activist coalition of young Democrats who are working to help elect candidates passionate about serving the American public and primarily youth. The youth vote is extremely important, and our work will ensure that the Democratic Party continues to receive strong youth and student engagement. Since this is a Democratic primary, we cannot endorse any candidate that we are planning on meeting. And we just want to be able to provide a place to facilitate discussion and provide a platform to all. And we are just waiting on our guest speaker, and then we will get started.
Director for the Democratic Youth Coalition. I'm going to turn it over to our leadership team to introduce themselves. We'll start with our wonderful founder and executive director, Rhea Iyer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ria, and I am our executive director. I'm so excited to be able to facilitate today's discussion. And I will pass it over to Ashi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashi. I'm the Chief of Staff for the Democratic Youth Coalition. I'm very happy and we are very excited today to be able to introduce Hannah Bristol, the Associate Director in the White House Office of Public Engagement. So thank you so much, Hannah, for being here today. And all of us are looking forward to learning more about your work.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I can't be in on video. I was having technical difficulties, but I'm super excited to be here with you all tonight and to talk to you, to hear about the work that you're doing and talk to you a little bit about the work that we're doing to engage young people within the White House and particularly within the Office of Public Engagement, which is where I work. Prior to this, I may have worked with some of you in some previous lives. I've worked at NextGen as well as on the Obama and Hillary campaigns, and then and the Warren campaign, and most recently, I was the National Young Americans Director on the Biden campaign. So I've been working with young people in this capacity within the Biden administration and campaign since last July.
Great. Well, thank you, Hannah, for joining us. It's always good to see you. So if you want to participate in the forum, please turn on your camera, mute if you're not speaking. We will not be taking any audience questions. And we ask that you do not promote yourselves in the chat or on the call. Our team will be posting our information about our organization in the chat option. With that, we're going to get the questions started. Hannah, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you first get started in politics and activism?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've always been very interested in politics. I remember when I was little writing letters to my senators whenever I was upset about something. I think whenever my mom was tired of listening to me complain, she'd be like, write a letter, here's the address, like, talk to someone other than me. And then when I was 14, I was a freshman in high school, and a senior with our high school Democrats program asked me if I wanted to skip school on election day and go knock doors in Virginia, where I grew up. And I was like, absolutely. Would love to do that. Also would love an excuse to skip school. And so I did. And I started knocking on doors, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world that as a 14-year-old who didn't have the ability to vote, who didn't have, money or influence or any of the other avenues that adults have for political power, I was able to organize my friends. I was able to, go to the doors of voters and have a real conversation with them about why, even though I wasn't old enough to vote, my life was deeply impacted by politics and policy, and I really needed them to turn out for people like me who weren't able to vote. And from then I was hooked. I spent a lot of my time in high school organizing my classmates around different Democratic candidates. I also did a lot of organizing in high school around the passage of the Affordable Care Act, and realized just how powerful we were able to be as young people when we organized. And so I've just ever since been really committed to both ensuring that young people are turning out in record numbers, that we're able to elect politicians who will advocate for us and for our values, and also that afterwards we're able to hold them accountable to the reasons that we elected them in the first place. And especially my work in that area has been in the climate movement, as well as around, voting rights and democracy work. And so I'm excited to be able to be in this role, which is my first time working on this side of things, to ensure that, young people like me and like those of you on the call are able to have an access point to engage with the administration and to be heard.
Great. And our next question is, what is the biggest issue that you want to work towards solving with the Biden administration?
Yeah, I think there are so many important issues that we are working on within the Biden administration. One thing that I'm super drawn to is the 4 priorities that we've laid out for the beginning of this administration, which is recovering from COVID-19, economic recovery, racial justice, and climate change. And all of those issues are incredibly important to me, and I know are incredibly important to a lot of young people. And so I'm really excited, particularly about the American Rescue Plan that we have right now going through Congress, which is our first COVID recovery package. And there's some things in there that I'm extremely excited about. I'm really excited about vaccination and testing expansion and making sure that we're able to get the current outbreak under control, get people vaccinated, and get people back in school so that people can return to life without being so afraid of this disease. I'm also really excited about a lot of the economic relief that's in there for young people. Things like a $15 an hour minimum wage, things like expanded unemployment, expanded access to insurance, to housing and food assistance, and then also that within this package, adult dependents qualify for the stimulus check. That wasn't the case in previous iterations of economic stimulus that have happened around COVID before. So those are some of the things that I'm really excited about. I lost my job in March last year and ended up being on unemployment just as the pandemic was beginning, and lost my healthcare just as the pandemic was beginning. And so I personally know how important it is to be able to have access to this expanded unemployment so that you're not feeling as financially pressured in the job market that COVID has caused, and also to make sure that people have access to the healthcare through the exchange. And we actually just the other day on Monday declared reopen the open enrollment period until May 15th, so that folks who lost their insurance or who need to look for a different plan as a result of their financial situation during the pandemic are able to do so.
Yeah, it seems that the COVID plan is really all-encompassing in terms of many different aspects of Biden's main 4 priorities. Could you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day responsibilities?
Yeah, totally. Right now, every day looks really different. We're still settling into things. We're just about at the 1-month mark, and so early on, we were really doing a lot of engagement around our executive orders in the first 10 days, where we were doing things like enforcing the Bostock decision to ensure equal protections for LGBT folks, where we were doing executive orders to stop the Keystone XL pipeline, to fortify DACA, and so many other executive orders that were part of that initial package. Since we've moved past that, now we're starting to shift to be able to think more long-term. So we're doing a lot of engagement around the American Rescue Plan, around COVID vaccination, and most of what I do is talk to and work with folks like you all to hear your priorities for the administration and talk a little bit about the work that we are doing on the campaign. In the administration.
Our next question is, can you speak a little bit about your work as engagement director with the National Young Americans, and what was the hardest and easiest part of encouraging the young folks to get more involved and vote in the election?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest challenge within that role was definitely figuring out how to do virtual organizing. So many of the tactics that we rely on when we're organizing young people are in person, and because one of the biggest challenges to making sure that young people vote is voter registration and ensuring that people are registered and that their voter registration is up to date and accurate. It was really a challenge to think about how we were still able to reach people, especially people who weren't on the voter file, knowing that a lot of the conventional tactics needed to be retooled. I think the easiest thing about it was that young people were so fired up about this election and really knew from the past 4 years how deeply our lives were impacted by the decisions of our leaders, and did an incredible job relational organizing, talking to each other, turning out their friends, doing, having hard conversations with people in their lives who may not have been planning to vote or who may have been planning to vote for Trump, and ensuring that we were able to really do some deep engagement despite not being able to utilize many of the tactics that we're used to relying on.
And going off of that, what advice would you have for young people who are passionate about public service or advocacy?
I would say don't be afraid to talk to folks. So much of this work, you're churning through jobs pretty quickly, and there are a lot of people who've been in your shoes and who know that experience and who want to help you find the right fit and the right job for you. So always, keep in touch with your coworkers, keep in touch with your managers, and make sure that people know what you want. And the other thing I would say is that because this field is changing so fast and there are always jobs that pop up, I think it's incredibly important to know what is most important to you when you're looking for a job. So, what are you really interested? What did you and didn't you like in your previous positions? What are you looking for? And being really in touch with yourself and your values and the things that make something the right fit for you is incredibly helpful for when you're in situations where you don't have a lot of time to be able to decide whether something is right. I think positioning yourself to be able to say yes to the right opportunity when the right opportunity comes along is incredibly important to making sure that you're able to do the kind of work that you're most excited about doing.
And then finally, why do you think it's important for people to get involved in politics, even if it's not directly related to their career?
Because even if politics isn't directly related to your career, it's directly related to your life. Everything in our lives is so rooted in who is in charge, and I think we've seen that through so much of the organizing around racial justice over the past year, by what's been happening with COVID, in terms of vaccine rollout, in terms of testing, in terms of economic relief. All of that is so impacted by politics. So even if your career isn't working in politics, your job is probably impacted by politics in terms of what health insurance is available to you, in terms of what protections you have if something goes wrong in the workplace, if you're sexually harassed or if you're being underpaid. All of those things, the way you get to work on public roads or on public transportation. So much of our lives is connected to the policies and the values of our leaders, and it's incredibly important to make sure that both we and the people of our lives know where all of those intersection points are, because it's easy to feel complacent or distanced from it when you're just living your normal life. But when you stop and think critically about all of the different ways that policy has formed and shaped the life that you're living, you'll see that there are so many intersections.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. We have time for one or two audience questions. So if anyone has a question, please feel free to turn on your camera and unmute yourself, and you can go ahead and ask your questions.
Hi. Thank you first off for meeting with us. My name is Nicole Overton. I'm actually also part of the leadership team. However, I had recruitment for my sorority prior to this. One question, I'm so sorry if you guys have asked this. What is your favorite part about working for the Biden administration?
I think my favorite part is getting to talk with so many incredible people who are doing such amazing and innovative organizing in their communities. I thought about this all the time when I was in my job during transition, where I was just constantly being connected with incredible leaders from across the country, from across so many different sectors, and the scope and scale of work that is happening and the ways that people are thinking about their lives and the issues that are important to them is really amazing. And I feel so privileged to be in a position where I have where I'm able to zoom out and look at all of the work that is happening and engage with folks on those issues and make sure that they're connected with the resources that they need and the people that they need to talk to in order to be heard and be successful. But I just am always so inspired by the scale of work that is happening all across this country for people to better their communities.
Great. And then we have time for one last question. Jojo Howard, do you have a question?
Oh, no, not at this time.
Okay, with that being said, thank you everyone for joining our call tonight. And also, thank you, Hannah, for taking the time to meet with us tonight. For folks that want to get involved, we did put the information for our organization in the chat, and we invite you to join our next event this coming Sunday with Kendra Hicks. That event information is on our Mobilize, and thank you guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Thank you all so much for having me, and thanks for all the great work you're doing. Looking forward to being in touch.